Yes, Rannie is. I'm more than happy to make things for Rannie to wear. That's our thing. So, and now that we don't do as many conventions and we still want to do characters, now we're filtering all of that into the Patreon. So instead of going out, we're just gonna do the makeups and then do photo shoots.
It's another way to branch out. Do you have anything planned for Halloween this year? Dressing up or conventions?
Yeah, everybody thinks that, oh man, you must have the best Halloween costumes. But actually, it's kind of funny because like once you turn makeup into a job, then Halloween essentially becomes your busiest time. So Halloween becomes a job and kind of loses the magic a little bit. I never, honestly, I don't think about Halloween until the very, the day of almost. But I think this year, I'm going to throw a Gay Day party. Gay Day are like spirits in voodoo culture, where they just love parties and raucous parties. And their day is November 2nd. So I think this year I'm going to throw a Gay Day party and have everybody come over and dress as dead people, and we'll have a good old time.
Of course, why not?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, who are some of your influences?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned earlier the Kyoto brothers. I love, and I'm actually like friends with them now, which is pretty trippy. I never thought that I would be friends with my idols essentially. Rick Baker, who is just, I mean, he's Rick Baker,
Of course.
Also, I love Steve Wang. He did the Guyver series and a couple other things. He's just like a crazy awesome painter and creature designer. Also loved Screamin' Mad George. He's very does like surreal stuff. I don't think he works in effects anymore, but he did the movie Society, if you've ever seen that one, where there's a really bizarre scene at the end. I don't want to spoil anything, but that sums up Screamin' Mad George's style there. Who else? I mean, well, Rob Bottin with The Thing and that whole crew. I think it's probably all I can think of right now. Yeah.
And challenges you have obviously you had some probably difficult makeups on Face Off, but even then, how do you work through it? Is it just tossing the clay around, moving it, shifting it to get ideas going?
Yeah, it's sometimes like artist block it's a real thing. It's tough, and
it just doesn't happen to writers. It happens to all other artists too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if you're really stuck, I think that's the time to walk away from it. And then, you got to look at it with like fresh eyes. When I was a smoker, I would call it nicotine eyes. I'd go smoke a cigarette and then come back, and then I would see, oh, this is what it needs, But now that I don't smoke anymore, I'm a poser, I guess. Cig Neutron doesn't smoke. Just give it a night, come back and look at it, just push it. So I've created creatures sometimes where I've been upset, and then I just started punching the clay, and then it turned into like this. I was like, oh, that's a cool form, and then I just like finished out the sculpture. Like it was, there are many ways to find inspiration, and the negative emotions and feeling stuck and stuff, those are actually really good times and sources of inspiration that can push you into weird areas that you creatively that you never even realized. So I think a lot of people try to stray away from negative emotions and feeling stuck and things like that, but if you think about it the right way, you can actually find a lot of inspiration there.
Absolutely. So true. Well, you've also branched out into an area that I'm familiar with, podcasting.
Yeah.
What is the name of your podcast, and how did it come about?
It's Cig Neutron Spewtron. And
of course.
So I guess it came about because in addition to, I guess that harkens back to the days when I was a kid. I've always just had a story to tell. And I just love, if people love my creatures and stuff and they say, oh, there's so much character to what you do, and it really just goes back to, because it all starts with a story, and if you create a story, then your art is going to reflect that, and it's going to be so much more enriched, and is going to exude that story and depth, and that's how people resonate with it. So I have a lot of random thoughts, and I've spent I discovered the note thing in my phone, so I would just start writing notes like every day, and I was like, man, what am I ever going to do with all these notes that I'm just like writing all the time? And one day I was like, you know what, these podcast things, people say words on things. Maybe I'll just start reading some of the notes and see where that goes. And because I would always write down these dumb ideas for like fake products or fake advertisements or fake movie trailers, and then the audio medium is a really fun place to bring things to fruition, because I've always loved like making music and stuff, so I do like dumb songs, and plus I love to talk, so it's a good medium for me. And that's kind of how it came about. It was like basically all of the weird, that's why I call it Spewtron, because it's just, I felt like this stuff just spews out of my head. And it needed to go somewhere, so I just funneled it into the podcast, and that's what it is.
When did you launch it?
January of this year. Cool. I did one episode, and then I think I got caught up, and then a couple months went by, and then I think around March or something, I started like posting pretty much at least one episode a week.
Hey, that's the month I launched. Yeah.
Yeah. Right on.
I'm like twinsies.
Yeah.
Now I know what I wanted to ask you is about coloring the makeup. Do you prefer one method, or you airbrush, paint? You like using the combinations?
Mm-hmm. So what's cool is before Face Off. Well, here's another funny story: is that I had only ever done 2 prosthetic makeups before I ever went on the show for season 7.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did my final in the Savini school. So I had only done 2. I knew how to do them, the whole process and everything, but I guess when I moved out here, I just got in mold departments and stuff and never had the time or the materials. But to do that, I learned to use a material called Pax paint, where you would mix acrylic paints with the adhesive that you stick down prosthetics, and you put that down as your base. The problem with that is like it is really hard to remove.
Oh yeah.
So the first time that we were on Face Off, they showed us these products first. They were like, okay, this is our sponsor, and there's this product called Aquacolor, and you can just seal the foam, and then you can use this water-based body paint to do your bases. And immediately, ever since then, I seal the foam with a no-tech Pros-Aid, and then I use Krylon Aquacolors to do all of my bases, and it holds well, and it comes off really well. When you want it to come off, it comes off really easy. So rather than putting like glue on all over someone's body,
Yeah. Wow. So what's up for you now? What's going on now? I know you have the Spewtron, and you're keeping busy with makeup and sculpting.
Yeah. I'm kind of I'm sort of trying to create my schedule where everything I do sort of feeds into itself. So right now I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Cig Neutron. So I'll do like makeup applications or make some parts of it on the stream and interact with the community there. And then I'll do other parts of it and I'll film it, and then say like making a mold or something, or doing some how-to videos, and then I upload that to the Patreon for like people that like pay for exclusive access. So I have a lot of how-to videos. Well, I'm currently putting them up. I just got this idea, so on the Patreon, and then in between those things, I'm doing the podcast that plays back and forth and talks about the Twitch and the Patreon. And so it's kind of like a nice little synergistic circle here. And in the meantime of that, I'm just trying to create more art, and also writing a feature film.
That's right.
That, whenever that's done, I'll start pursuing that. But yeah, for right now, just still trying to build the brand with basically those 3 main things: the Twitch, the Patreon, and the podcast.
Keeping busy. That's good. And you don't have to support yourself with a day job. You have all these creative outlets to help support you. That's great.
Yeah, I think it's. I was really hesitant towards diving into these new mediums and like even Instagram and things like that. Like somebody had to force me to get an Instagram way back in the day, and I realized that it's so important as human beings and as artists is that we have to adapt and we have to change. And if anytime we get too stuck in a way of thinking, we're only hurting ourselves. Like a lot of the guys in the effects industry are like, oh, they're using ZBrush now these days to sculpt and things like that. And it's, you can't deny progress. You can't deny technology. And if you do, then you're just going to get left behind. So, the times are always changing and you got to change with them. And you have to, because the creative world is a very competitive one. And, you gotta always, whatever avenue you can do to bring your best game, you gotta go for it. And you can't have this mentality of like, well, I don't like these newfangled technologies. It's that you just gotta do your best to learn it, and make it, see how you can incorporate that tool into your toolbox to further your brand.
On the flip side of that, there's many times that artists question themselves, say, should I keep doing this? Should I even keep bothering with this? Nothing's happening. What advice would you give to them if they're trying to give up?
Yeah, I think if you're drawn to the creative mindset in the first place, or a creative path, then it's for a reason, and you shouldn't give up, no matter how much you feel like you should. Sometimes, what you might need to direct your course sometimes, but in the end, if you're drawn towards creativity, that's where you're supposed to be going. And once you direct your course, like if you have an end goal, there are many paths to reach an end goal. And some of them are slower and some of them are quicker. And you just have to think and you have to follow your intuition is a very big point. Because even before, I'm on this big spiritual kick now, but before I got all spiritual and stuff, my life proved to me that as long as I stayed focused and I followed my gut, it took me to where I wanted to go. Even though that it wasn't exactly how I imagined it sometimes, I still got there, So you never know when your big break might be just a day away, and if you gave up, then that's really the only way you can fail is by giving up. So, the creative path isn't the easiest, but it's the most rewarding. And when I'm feeling like giving up, I just think, well, if I got a 9 to 5, would I be any happier right now? And that alone is just a very powerful statement. And that's not talking crap on anyone with a 9 to 5 or anything, but it's being an artist and being as a creative, it's almost impossible for me to imagine myself doing anything but art.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think really think about that. Like if you gave up, what would you be doing, and would you be happy doing it? So sometimes the fight is you gotta look at life as a game and get excited about it. And if something fails, then you try something else and get excited about the trial and the error and because your whole life is just a big experiment. And it's, people call it mistakes or failure, but I mean, look at how science calls it experimentation. They fail all the time, but what do? They just learn from that failure and then try it again. So that's the way I look at things.
That is a great perspective. Do you think we all have an artist inside of us?
Absolutely. I think, I've been getting into quantum physics and stuff lately too, and the observer effect, and basically which states that not only are we creating the universe by observing it, but we're also actively participating in it. So we are, no matter even the way that you decide to present your avatar to the world, dress yourself, create your hair color, your cut, whatever style you want, you're creating you. So at the very essence and the very core of just being a human being, you are a creator. And it just depends on what you want to create. And some people create in all kinds of different ways. So yeah, everybody's a creator and everybody's creative. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Yeah, you gave advice about not giving up, but what about just advice for future special effects makeup artists?